Hi, welcome back to another video and welcome back to the channel. Now in this video we're going to be talking about road tax, and there's two questions that I want to look at. Is it a fair tax and should it be? I'd like your views on it. I'm Pete Austin and this is all about cars. Okay, so whoever gets into number 10, whether they're red, blue, green, yellow, whoever, it doesn't really matter who they are. One way or the other, the only way the leader of that party is going to run the country is through tax. Now they can promise to cut your income tax or whatever, but somewhere along the line they're going to get it back somehow. But tax is about fairness, and there's one particular tax that I want to talk about and focus on in this video, and that's the George Osborne's 2015 budget, where he introduced a tax on cars that cost over £40,000 and came into effect on the 1st of April 2017. So to me this is undoubtedly an unfair tax. Now if a car costs £40,000, the government put a levy on it, and that levy will be from years 2 to years 6 of the car's life. The first year you'll pay the standard rate tax, which is based on the emissions from the tailpipe. Now when it comes to emissions, now the more emissions you emit, the more you pay tax. The less emissions, the less you pay tax, unless obviously you got a all electric car and you pay zero tax. So to me that seems to be a fair way of looking at it. Now years ago it used to be a road tax, so you used to go to the post office, buy your tax, if it's 6 months or 12 months, stick a little disc on the windscreen and away you go, and you knew exactly what you was paying. But then obviously they changed it and said, well, we're going to put a polluting tax on everyone, so the more you emit pollutants, the more you pay tax. Okay, that's fair. But what has the price of the car got to do with polluting the environment? It's got absolutely nothing to do with polluting the environment. What it has got to do is with how much tax we can get out of you, and that's an unfair stealth tax. Okay, so let's look into that in a bit more detail. So in 2015, George Osborne in his budget said he wanted to tax those who could afford the more expensive polluting vehicles. So it was aimed at those people who could afford it. That's what he said. Okay, so why is it going to last for the 6 years of the car's life? If you wanted to tax the people who could afford it, then you tax them when they buy the car, not after. So that's the whole general point of the tax. It wasn't actually aimed at those who could afford it. It was aimed at everyone over the next 5 years, knowing that that car was going to be part exchanged at some point, making sure that other people other than those who could afford a car for over £40,000 was going to pay that tax as well, and a stand to make over £9 billion extra in tax. Now it is an unfair tax. Now I'm not the only one who thinks that. The Institute for Fiscal Studies have also lobbied the government, or expressed their opinions to the government, saying that it should be abandoned because it is an unfair tax. Now, in today's money, if you buy a car and the list price is £40,000 or more, and your tailpipe emissions for year one or your standard rate tax is £190, for the first year you pay the £190. After that, you pay an extra £410 on top for the next 5 years. So year two, when you go to tax your car, it's £600. £600 in tax. But really, if it's based on the emissions, which is what they really wanted to do, it'd only be £190. So where is this £410 extra come into effect? Only just to line the pockets of number 11 Downing Street. It has nothing to do with polluting the environment. It's just a tax on you. Now, a lot of people still can't afford to go out and buy a £40,000 car. Now they'll probably look at buying a 1, 2 or even a 3-year-old car. And those are the people that this tax is targeting. The people who can't afford it, not the ones who could. Most people who can afford the expensive cars probably change their car every year, so they'll never pay that tax. They'll leave that to everybody else to pay for the next 5 years. So how is it a fair tax? It's not. It's just another way of lining the government's pocket. So let's look at the list price of a car. 2017, £40,000. The same car would be around about 50 or more. So again, more and more people are getting caught in the net. Now I'd like to ask the question, what has a sunroof or nicer wheels or better interior got to do with the environment? Nothing. Yet the £40,000 rule also includes any extras that you might want on a particular car that you're buying. So for instance, you buy an Audi A5, nice car, back in 2017 that was £37,000. Lovely, just under the bracket. But then the salesman is going to sell you the extras. We can do a package on entertainment. We can do a package on your wheels. You can have a nice sunroof or a digital cockpit. And people are buying those unaware that as they're buying those extras, it's pushing the value of their car over the £40,000 bracket. So it's not really based on the list price, it's based on the list price plus any extras that you buy because you wanted them. That's got nothing to do with the environment, that's got nothing to do with the emissions in the tailpipe. It's got everything to do with pushing the price of the car up, so again you fall into that tax bracket. Well, okay, so if you bought your extras in the showroom when you're buying the car, you might say, well, all right, they can afford it then, so why shouldn't they pay that extra? Well, let's look at when the car is sold on. Typical people buying new cars change their cars every 1 to 3 years. So when you bought all those extras in the showroom, yes, you might have been able to afford it then. They might have been able to afford it, sorry. But the person buying the £25,000 car because it's 2 years old, 3 years old, they have to pay the extra. They didn't buy all the extras on the car, but they have to pay the extra in tax. So the person buying it in the showroom might well be able to afford that particular amount of money. But the reason you're buying a used car in the first place is because you can't. Yet you still have to pay the tax. Now they knew exactly what they was doing when they announced it back in 2015. And like I said, that revenue now over the years has built up because more and more people are being caught in the bracket and more people are paying that tax, and over £9 billion is going into the coffers. When you look at a really expensive car, let's say for instance a Range Rover. Now a Range Rover can cost anything from 90 to over £100,000. And they do some pretty good engines on those cars now, lower emissions. So in the first year they might pay £190 or £200 tax, or even a little bit more. But then they're going to pay the £410 on top. So 600, 650. Well, they're buying a £100,000 car. So those people obviously can afford the extra tax, like George Osborne was saying in 2015. But they're only going to be paying years 2 to year 6 the same as you or I. How is that fair? I don't think it's fair. It's certainly not aimed at those who can afford it, this tax. Since 2017, vehicle excise duty has gone up with inflation. So instead of paying £180 for your tax, your base rate tax, that's gone up to £190. Okay, so why hasn't the price of the vehicle band gone up? So in 2014, in 2017, £40,000 band for the price of the car. The cars have gone up by a hell of a lot since 2017, but the band still remains £40,000, knowing that they're going to get more people in that net. So what about fairness? So I asked the question, is the road tax fair and should it be? So let's look at the should it be. Well, this is an interesting question as well. So we all need to use the roads when we drive in our cars. So if we're all using the roads, then shouldn't we all pay the same? Well, depending on how much you're polluting the roads, depends on how much you pay, apparently, or apparently not. But let's look at that for a moment. So when I was working, I've retired now. So when I was working, I was commuting to work, and I was driving to work, coming backwards and forwards, and probably doing around about 7,000 to 8,000 miles a year, which is not a lot. But now I've retired, and if I'm lucky, I might do 3,000 miles now a year. So I'm not using the road as much. So I'm not polluting as much. But I'm paying exactly the same amount of tax. My car's stuck on the drive most of the time, but I'm still paying the same amount of tax as someone who's driving 30,000 miles a year. So the question is, should tax be fair? Yes, it should. That's my opinion. But the current system just isn't. Now I know when this video goes out there'll be quite a few views aired, and I'd love to hear your views in the comments below, because it'd be interesting to see what other people think about this. This is a tax, a stealth tax, and it's an unfair tax. What do you think? If you like this video, then don't forget to hit the like button, because that helps with the channel. And if you like to subscribe, then don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again in the next one. Keep right on.